Hi everyone, Vicky here. Happy New Year. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm going to show you today how I made these gorgeous thank you cards. I got some great Christmas presents this year and was thoroughly spoilt, so I'm just sending a couple of cards out, so I wanted to make them myself. So I'm going to be using this Concord 9th Turnabout stamp set. It's my first time using one of these. And I don't think I've quite mastered it, but I have done my best. So I'm going to show you how I've done it. So you will get, with every turnabout, you'll get one of these little guides on it. So that shows you basically how to line up your turnabout. So what you need to do is you need to pop it down and then you need to work out which way your stamp will actually match it. And if you pop your stamp down on it and just line up all the different elements, like so, then you need to take a pen and actually draw the X from that guide onto your stamp. Don't worry, it won't ruin it. It won't affect the actual stamping of the image itself, because obviously it is on the back. But apparently it's something to do with where they can't actually physically print it onto the stamp when they're printing the stamp. Otherwise they probably would. But it's just as a guide for you for lining it up for when you're turning the stamp. You'll see mine aren't perfect. I think it's to do with the way I've set it up onto my actual MISTI. But hey ho, you will need to use a stamping tool for this, realistically. Otherwise, it's just not going to quite work as well. Please excuse all the random paper flying around. You need to take a piece of cardstock and actually line up the X on the stamp with the X that you've drawn from corner to corner. I think I know where I went wrong with it, in that my cardstock that I used was a little bit bigger, so I didn't necessarily get the exact same lineup as I should have done, I don't think. And I didn't fully line this little piece up. I didn't measure it into place properly. So I think that's where I went wrong. But you learn, you move on, and the next ones I'm hoping will be perfect. So I'm going to use 4 different shades of the same colour for these, just to build up a nice monochromatic look. Hey, I said it as well. Obviously you could do it with any kind of colour. I'm just going to do a couple of layers as I go, because that's just the way I'm working. I was doing 2 of each colour, so you will see me set that aside. You need to make sure you keep track of which way you've just had your cardstock, because you do need to rotate it, which is why they're called turnabout stamps. Concord and 9th do a lot of turnabouts, and some of them are incredibly beautiful. This is the first one that I've purchased and used, but I do have another one in my stash that I just need to wait for my big MISTI to arrive before I can use, because it's 6x6 I think, and it won't fit into this one. So you just stamp on your image. Now the stamp stays where it is. You do not move your stamp. Your stamp doesn't actually turn about. What needs to turn is your piece of paper. So every time you've done it, you need to take 1/4 turn and then position it back exactly where it is. And this is where my problem is that I didn't actually mark off exactly where my paper needed to go. It's a 4x4 piece of cardstock, but I didn't perfectly measure it, and that's where my problem is. So the stamps don't perfectly align the way they do on the back of the packaging. However, it does still come up really pretty. So this is just the second colour of ink that I'm stamping on there. You probably can't really see the difference as much now. I think once more colours start going on, it becomes easier to see the difference. So obviously this was me repositioning, and then it wasn't until I'd positioned it, and I think I do actually ink it, that I realised that I hadn't turned it. Oops. So it got a tiny bit darker than it probably would have been. It's one of those things. I've lived and I've learned as I've gone on, that I've, it's a learning process, I think, getting the hang of these, but they are great. So basically the gist is that there's 4 sides to paper. So if you turn it 4 times, you can get different variations on a theme. So as I say, I did this monochromatic. However, you could do it in all different pastel colours. You could do it in really bright rainbow colours. I intend to use this stamp set quite a lot as it goes. So I will be experimenting and seeing what effects I can get with different colours. I've seen some examples where you could do 1 layer embossed just with clear embossing powder, or they're just like whatever colour you're using, or you could do one with silver embossing powder just to add a different layer to it. So I have lots of ideas of what I'm going to try with it. So I will obviously share those with you this year. This is the third shade that's going on now, so you can kind of see, A, you can see how this works, and B, you can see that I am ever so slightly out of centre when I'm doing it. But I still really like it, and I'm also putting my sentiment in the middle of these. So luckily that does take up, kind of covers up the little error in the middle, which works out nicely for me, which is why I didn't stress as much as I probably would if I was putting a sentiment somewhere else where it would have been more obvious that I'd made a slight error with them. I did these in yellow, and I did them in purple, and I did them in green because they're the 3 Altenew sets that I've got of inks. Obviously their inks come in packs, well, they can come in packs of 4 with the little cubes, and they're just literally 4 shades of the same colour, which are perfect for doing something like this if you wanted to try and do a bit of a monochromatic look. So this is the last turn going in now, and this is actually my favourite of the yellows. It's the darkest one out of the pack, and it's just stunning. It's called Honey. It's lovely, like vibrant, almost mustardy, I personally think, but it is a really nice shade. And I think just popping that one in makes the difference. So anyway, these are all the different little ones that I've done, and I've just got some 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 note cards, and I've just stamped thanks onto a little oval of card and stuck those down with foam tape for a bit of dimension. I hope you've enjoyed this little video, just a quick one to start off the new year. I hope that 2021 is so much better than 2020 was for most people, and that at some point you can go and hand deliver these cards and spread some love. But in the meantime, I will be doing lots of videos with lots of ideas of things that you can send to people while we're all stuck in lockdown. Happy New Year, guys!